If I took the
I just
most
hope that I
important
did.
aspects of fatherhood and condensed it into one title, it would be Steady Wins the
My
Race.
parents
All the
were
little
divorced
girls.
when I was just a little boy, around 3 years old, if I can remember right. That was the last time I seen my dad, over 30 years ago now. I didn't get not a single call, not a single visit, not even a single penny for that matter. That experience had a tremendous
We
influence
have to
on me
properly
in the way
articulate the
that I.
definition of manhood in order to understand the characteristics a man must have to be a father. As men, we automatically take on the persona of strength and provider, so as fathers, we have to provide strength through compassion. It's our responsibility to teach love, but we can only teach love if we actually love who we are.
Interesting enough, he left home at 13. So it was easy for him to let me go. He, in my mind, assumed that that's what would make me be a man, right? And because he did it younger, that I would be okay. So in order for us to not get to a place where we were putting hands on each other, right? Because I don't think that's something that's appropriate for any 15-year-old to go through. And you know how stubborn and how crazy 15-year-olds can be. It probably was the best thing. So I didn't like to be boxed in, you know. It's kind of like, oh, let him be creative, let him be talented, but as long as he stays within this, you know, he's confined in this. And that wasn't working for me, you know. So I always say, you know, you can't play outside the box until you know what's in it, right? And I really think that I learned what was in that box at a very young age, which is why I'm kind of my biggest challenge, you know, to myself. So that rebel spirit I think it comes from that, you know. So I really had to leave because of that.
Wait a minute, Rude. There's no women here, so let me defend the women.
All right.
So what about the woman that's out there saying, well, I wasn't too strong. I tried to love my cheating husband or man, and he didn't like the rules, and so he ran off and left me with the kids.
Man, I think that's another part of
That,
the
yeah, that's
umbrella.
another part of the game as well. I mean, I'm not saying that does happen, but and from my experiences, I grew up in South Central. My mother raised me and my brother different dads. There was times where my brother's dad was right down the street watching him play in the yard, not engaged with him at all. So he was a person that really needed that guidance. There's only so much my mother could do, you know. So he started to get into the gang stuff. He was a heavy hitter in Los Angeles, man. He was a Crip, one of the Hoover Crip guys. So I used to look at that. She's only so much she could do with working and trying to have him try to raise me, but he couldn't because he was out in those streets. My father didn't come into my life till I was 33 years old. You know what I mean? So it's it could be a catch-22, man. But those experiences allowed me to be who I am as a father, because when my son was born, well, it was a different relationship from my wife. When he was born, his mother tried to go away and keep me out of the situation totally. I wasn't having that. You know what I mean? I wanted to be there. I wanted to be engaged. But she moved away and not even told me where she was. You know? So that's one of the things that was prevalent.
So could we agree that our children's relationship with the fathers suffer because of the relationship with the mom and dad?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I mean, once again, it goes back to slavery, because you had to have the woman basically create a docile male to keep him from being killed or sold off. So the woman was running the house.
Right.
Okay, because anytime a man can come in your house and lay with your wife right next to you, what kind of self-esteem you gonna work with?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how that mentality and that sense of self has been passed on. And there's a certain level of powerlessness. And when you feel powerless, you try to exert your power where you feel you can exist, whether that's in the streets, whether that's having extramarital affairs or having many women, because you don't feel that you can exert your power in the boardroom because you get in such a poor education and there's no value placed on education. Unless you see your father getting an education and bringing you along, then you don't place any value in that. And so, unfortunately, when you were talking about the woman being strong, when a woman, that mentality, unfortunately, to a certain degree, creates an adversarial relationship within the household. And there's this power struggle. And when deferring to a man as the head of the household doesn't mean you become powerless. It just means he's allowed to assume the role of, I'm going to guide our family in the direction in which I want us to go. And I think a lot of times that's missed, and what ends up happening is, there's this power struggle, and a lot of men who, they end up leaving because the struggle was there. But it's men that leave for the reasons that aren't worthy of leaving anyway. Yeah. But I'm saying that to that point, there is a real issue, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that the woman it's not just about being a strong mind. We don't know how to defer to one another and let each other play each other's position.
Commonly, is that even as you speak to running away, and we spoke about going to the gangs, and you even said having extramarital affairs, right? We have adopted this mentality that we go where we're celebrated and not tolerated.
Well, and I think too, also, when you talked about the education, a child learns more from what he sees other than what he's taught. So if, as a child, if you see that your father's not there, that becomes instilled in you to say, well, he's not there, so I'm not supposed to be there.
Right.
So so now we start looking for those other avenues as to, hey, first you become my brother, now I get out here in the street and there's the older cat that says, hey man, I need you to come do this for me, I'm gonna take care of you. Now you start
if your father's not there, so I'm not gonna be there, but couldn't that be reversed where if you didn't have that father in the home, and when you are an adult and you starting to have your offspring, shouldn't you have that mentality like, I'm going to be totally opposite of what my father was. Right. He was absent, so I'm not going to.
If you get that mentorship, and like when you stated in your bio that you've become the father of your girl's child, but you're not saying, well, okay, I'm here because that's your mama, I'm with your mama, and you don't exist, so you just in my house. But you have taken that child in and it's raising him as yours. So so in that aspect, I think that's what is being done.
But there's this movement that's going on, right? It's the you ain't shit movement.
Yep.
And our kids, primarily our sons, have adapted that methodology. Mm-hmm. Like I listened to you, Ruben, talk, and you got emotional about your situation as it pertains to you and how you feel about your kids, right?
Yeah.
And you even spoke to the disagreement or the disconnect that you have with the child's mother, and that you insisted that you were going to do, because I'm the same person. There's nobody that's going to run me away from my child. I don't care what disagreement we have, and that child is just as much my child as it's your child.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes we have to go the long mile for that, you know what I mean? But I don't like the fact that there's no award for being a good father.
Right.
They only talk about you when you're not there. When you're there all the time and you get up all the time and you take care of the kids and take them to school and you do everything that a father is supposed to do, there's no celebration that comes with that. It's kind of like we're underappreciated. You know what I'm saying? And so to go back to Keith's point, before, where you go and find where somebody is giving you that celebration, it's a different kind of atmosphere.
part in The Color Purple when she was cutting Mister's face? You remember what she said? When he said, if you cut me, I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, you keep that in mind, I'm gonna kill you if you cut me.
Keep perfectly still, is what I'm saying.
So tell me, I mean, you say you are going to be a basketball star.
Yep.
You mean like NBA or just like...
I mean like Michael Jordan.
Oh, see, that's talking crazy, man. You might be a street legend.
No, I'm gonna make it to that MJ status.
You know, there's only one MJ now.
Yeah, I was killing them in the trials today. Yeah. I was doing a pretty good job, actually.
Well, if you on that MJ status, you shouldn't even have to try out.
Things change, Pops. You gotta try out these days. You didn't have to try out?
No, man. You see these legs? These legs is powerful. Somebody told me that one time. But on a serious note, man, I want you to focus on your grades.
I'm focused.
And stay away from them girls, man. Them girls ain't nothing but trouble.
Come on, Dad. Every night, we gotta talk about this.
Because every night you still doing the same thing.
Doing what?
I can't take this anymore. Killing me.
I'm done.
I told you time after time to stay away from them damn girls. Your ass is already in enough trouble.
No, I'm not.
You are! Now when you leave up out of here, you can do whatever you want to do until your little dick falls off. But as long as you live up under my roof, you gonna do what I say do. You a kid.
I got it, Dad. I was just telling you.
You don't tell me nothing.
Slam my door again.
You know that song, bend over, let me see you touching the tail cover.
Deshaun, get back in here.
No. 110, the Harbor Freeway.
Deshaun.
Sometimes we fight that inner energy of trying to be good and bad. So I was kind of relating that with that, the pull between the good and the bad that we fight on our inside.
So what is then, if not pull, then what? What do we present before you all to get you guys engaged in anything? And if it takes pull, if it takes the story of my son, I'll sacrifice my story to get us talking and get us engaged so we can create the kind of films that we all want to see.
I'm just going to come at the award aspect. I just feel like you shouldn't feel like you need a reward for something that you're obligated to do. I mean, that's why I'm kind of stepping up just as an uncle. I mean, I know that the mothers are more praised, obviously. But later on down the line, if you prove yourself to be a great father, your kids are gonna say that, and that's rewarding. That should be rewarding enough, but society is not gonna praise us.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this
just
question.
a given.
Why is the kid want to be celebrated when they bring good grades? That's what you're supposed to do.
True.
See, it's a difference.
It's based on their friends. They go to school, it's all social. It comes down to social. I mean, if you start out rewarding them, for, you get an A, then I'll give you some money. Then it entices them to do better.
My daughter told me like this: you spend all your time writing letters and at the prisons for my son, and here it is. I haven't done anything wrong. I've graduated college, but all your attention and your focus goes to the negative. It kind of makes me think I should have been getting in trouble.
I understand.
The generation behind us has a whole different way of thinking.
Oh yeah.
Than we've been brought up, and I'm sure the generation behind them will think differently than we think now. Thank you guys. This is hot. Birthright.